YouTube crew, what is going on? And welcome back to another video. Now today on stream we talked about my 4 pillars for success in Warzone. What are the 4 areas that you really need to focus on in order to improve? And this applies to both beginners and advanced players. These 4 pillars all go together. So if you're really good at one and struggle at the other 3, you're not going to have the most success. If you're really good at 3 and struggle at 1, you're still not going to have the most success. As soon as we become consistent in all 4, that's when we ultimately will have the most success in Warzone. So as always, like the video, subscribe down below. Let's go hashtag Warzone in the comments and let's get into it. Okay, so when we talk about 4 pillars of success, there's really 4 things that I look at when it comes down to progressing and getting better. I get the question all the time, Joe, how do I progress? How do I get better? And I really want you to take a look at these 4 things on a game-to-game basis and understand why you are dying in Warzone. And I attribute it to really one of these 4 things. Now, the first thing that I really want to look at, which is the most important thing in my opinion, and I will say it till I'm blue in the face, I say it all the time in stream, which is your aim. You have to be able to hit your shots. No matter what you do, no matter how good you are at the other 4 pillars or the other 3 pillars that I'm going to be talking about, if you don't hit your shots, then you will lose your gunfights. You are going to lose your 50-50 situations. And when I talk about your aim, not only am I talking about hitting the large majority of your shots, I am also talking about hitting your upper torso shots. You know, your chest shots, your neck shots, your head shots, those high damage profile areas are the ones that we need to be hitting in order to consistently win gunfights. Now, as we progress in aim, and each pillar, I'm going to be giving you a link down in the comments below that's clearly labeled for you that you can ultimately go follow up after this video and kind of see how you can work on those things. So for aim, it's just a matter of repetition. I'm going to show you something on the screen here. I'm going to interrupt gameplay for a second. I'm going to show you something that I did on stream the other day and talking about how you can simply practice understanding your recoil pattern. You don't need to be shooting people. Go up against the wall and plunder and basically look at what your recoil pattern does. Don't adjust the right stick at all. Don't, try to control it. Just look at what it does. And now with a muni box, just keep throwing the muni box down, get your ammo, and just keep shooting the wall and try to get that circle as tight as possible. You have no aim assist. You have no magic trick. This is literally you shooting a wall and controlling that recoil. So that's kind of one part. The other is I always suggest Modern Warfare bots in terms of getting that repetition in, starting to really practice using the guns that you want to use or guns that are similar so that when you get into a game, you've already shot that gun a bunch. You already feel comfortable with it. So that is the first thing, is getting better aim. The most important thing in Warzone. And I'll add one more thing. When I look at the elite gamers versus the average player, they have great movement. They have great game sense. They have great positioning. I might have just given away the 3 pillars, but they just don't miss shots. And that's why they win so many fights. That's why they can win the re-challenge. Now, when we jump into pillar number 2, we're going to be talking about movement. And movement doesn't have to be complicated. There's a lot of complex movements in Warzone. There's bunny hopping, which is kind of the most complex. There's slide canceling, which isn't totally complex, but it does take a little bit of skill to get used to. So when we talk about movement, and I'm going to leave you a movement playlist down below, I really want you to just start getting that repetition in again. Use Plunder, use Modern Warfare multiplayer. Just practice it in Warzone. Practice it as much as you can. And when we talk about movement, it's really looking at, slide canceling, strafing, jump peeking. And when I think about my gameplay, like those are the 3 main ones that I use. Yes, I bunny hop here and there. Yes, I drop shot here and there. But for the most part, the only movements I'm doing are consistently slide canceling. I jump peek corners to kind of get out of the frame of my opponent and make it harder for them to track me. And I strafe while I'm shooting. I think strafing while shooting is probably one of the most important movements for you to know. And the reason being is it's very simple. It's simply moving your left stick back and right while shooting, and you just have to control it. So when we talk about pillar number 2 in movement, it doesn't have to be difficult, but it does take practice. It does take time to get used to and get comfortable with it so that you can ultimately execute that in Warzone, whether it be Verdansk or Rebirth. And again, slide canceling. When I talk about slide canceling, I actually talked about this the other day with somebody. You should be slide canceling all the time, even if it's not a situation where you think you should be slide canceling. I want you to work on it. If you're slide canceling around Rebirth and Verdansk, all of a sudden when you really need it, it becomes so much easier. So start to slide cancel more and get that repetition in with that as well. Now, number 3 is positioning. The 3rd pillar is positioning. When we talk about positioning, there's really one main thing that I want to address here. So many of you get caught out in the open. understanding where your cover is at all times. Is it a crate? Is it a tent? You know, is it in a building? Where is that cover that you can go to reposition to if you ultimately need to? You know, where you are getting shot, you got to move quickly. You got to duck behind cover so that you're safe. Where is that? And throughout the game, I promise you, my mind is rolling in terms of, you know, where is my cover? Positioning myself so that when I see the dot on the map and I'm going for that person, I know where I can go to if I need to plate up, reload, whatever it may be. So positioning with cover is something that I really want you to work on in terms of positioning.
Okay, I'm gonna go here. This is
you know, and pillars for success. Now, we will talk about two other things here, which is repositioning. And this kind of ties back to slide canceling, right? Playing fast, repositioning, not peeking the same corners. Because when you peek the same corners, you become very predictable. It becomes very easy to hold certain areas. And now all of a sudden, when you repeat that corner, there's a good chance that you just lost that advantage. So be really careful about repositioning. And the last thing is, in terms of positioning, is understanding what your strengths are. If you are the best sniper on the planet, you should not be playing in the 5-meter range. You shouldn't be, right? If you struggle with close range engagements, then don't put yourself in close range engagements. Now, we want to talk about getting better at those, and this goes back to what I originally said. Like, why are you dying? If you're consistently dying in close range engagements, you gotta address why. You gotta figure out why. Is it movement? Are you hitting your shots? Or are you just losing those? Are you just not anticipating players well? So in terms of positioning, you'll understand your strengths and weaknesses and really play to those. As you progress, everything becomes easier. But I will say this. I struggled with close range engagements when I first started playing Warzone. So I got better over time. It's just something where after the game happens, after you die, you go, okay, why did I die there? It was a close range engagement. And then you start to figure out why. Well, it was a close range engagement and I didn't track well. Okay, well, now we know what we need to work on. And the last one is just game strategy. You know, this comes with experience. This comes with practice. It's little things like not pushing a full squad of 4 in a building. That's a recipe for disaster. Yes, you may come out alive. Yes, you may ultimately win that fight, but the chances are very minuscule. I am consistently looking for easy kills. Talked about it earlier on stream today. You know, a lot of times I'm racking up kills and I don't realize I have 12 or 15 because they're easy. They're guys that are out in the open. They're guys that aren't with their team. They're quick kills where it's in and out, and then I reposition, and then I look for the next guy on the team who is ultimately out in the open. So when we are talking about these 4 pillars for success, if you are really looking to get better, I want you to start really thinking about why you're dying and really tie it back to one of those 4 things. Aim, movement, positioning, game strategy. If you do have any other questions, think of anything, make sure you check or leave it down in the comments below for me. And as I always say, let's get better today, and I will see you tomorrow. And go set that PR this weekend. Let's go.